You were trained to believe public life is a cooperative space, a marketplace of manners, a stage where decency is rewarded and authenticity earns respect. That belief is the first lie that gets men erased. Public space is not neutral. It never was. It is an arena of selection. Every time you step outside your private domain, you enter a silent contest where you are measured, ranked, and assessed for utility or disposal. No one announces this process. No one needs to. It operates automatically, the way predators scan a herd. Machiavelli understood this long before psychology gave it softer names. Visibility invites judgment. Expression invites interpretation. And interpretation determines whether you are used, ignored, or targeted. In private, weakness is a trait. In public, weakness is a signal. The modern man confuses exposure with honesty. He believes showing emotions proves depth, that transparency earns trust. That virtue displayed loudly signals moral superiority. In reality, public behavior functions like blood in water. It does not inspire protection. It attracts interest from the wrong entities. Public arenas reward control, not sincerity. Stillness, not expression. Ambiguity, not clarity. The man who performs his inner world openly hands others a map. And maps are used for conquest, not compassion. Every gesture you make in public answers unspoken questions. Can you be pressured? Can you be provoked? Can you be exploited without resistance? You think people are noticing you. That's naive. They are reading you. Power does not announce itself. It observes. It lets others speak first. It lets them leak information through posture, tone, humor, defensiveness, and neediness. Then it decides how to position itself in relation to them. This is why moral behavior, when displayed publicly, often backfires. Loyalty shown too openly becomes predictability. Kindness without leverage becomes permission. Humility becomes an invitation to test limits. What you were told makes you good often makes you manageable. Machiavelli's core warning wasn't to be evil. It was to understand context. A behavior that preserves you in private can destroy you in public. The arena does not reward inner truth. It rewards strategic presentation. Public life is governed by asymmetric information. The one who knows less reveals more. The one who reveals more loses position. Silence, restraint, and selective opacity are not social flaws, they are survival tools. Look at who dominates any room without speaking much. They don't rush to explain themselves. They don't perform relatability. They don't broadcast grievances or virtues. They let others define themselves first, then adjust accordingly. That is not arrogance. That is battlefield awareness. The tragedy is that most men walk into public spaces emotionally naked, believing confidence is volume and authenticity is exposure. They forget that predators don't need you weak, they need you visible. The arena does not punish cruelty. It punishes predictability. It punishes emotional leakage. It punishes men who believe rules exist to protect them rather than to filter them. Once you understand this frame, everything changes. Public behavior stops being an extension of your inner self and becomes a tool, a weapon, or a shield. And until you adopt that lens, every step you take in public is a quiet audition for domination. You are not being watched to be understood. You are being watched to be placed. And placement determines whether you move freely or get managed. You believe people respond to what you say. That is a comforting illusion. In reality, they respond to what you signal long before words matter. Every public interaction is a transmission. You are broadcasting data continuously through posture, pacing, tone, eye contact, timing, emotional control, and restraint. None of this is neutral. Signals are interpreted automatically by those who understand power, even if they pretend not to. Predators don't analyze you emotionally. They scan for efficiency. Machiavelli understood this instinctively. He knew men are judged not by intention but by appearance, and appearance is processed faster than reason. Modern psychology confirms it, but with softer language. Signaling theory explains why behavior matters more than morality in competitive environments. Signals answer one question: what does it cost to deal with you? A man who over-explains signals insecurity. A man who jokes excessively signals submission masked as charm. A man who reacts emotionally signals exploitable pressure points. A man who rushes to agree signals fear of exclusion. None of these require malice to be detected. They are read instantly, often unconsciously, by people who have learned to extract advantage from others' openness. Public life selects for men who control their signals, not those who feel deeply. Depth without discipline leaks. And leakage invites correction from bosses, peers, institutions, and rivals. Consider how quickly hierarchies form in any group. It's not through debate. It's through micro-adjustments. Who speaks without being invited? Who waits? Who interrupts and is tolerated? Who laughs too quickly? Who stays composed under pressure? These are not accidents. They are readings and responses. The naive man believes confidence is something you declare. The sophisticated observer knows confidence is inferred from what you don't need to prove. Predators watch for imbalance, emotional spikes, inconsistent boundaries, a mismatch between words and behavior. They don't need you to fail openly. They need you to signal that you can fail under the right pressure. This is why public virtue is dangerous. Virtue expressed loudly often masks a need to be seen as good. That need is leverage. Loyalty spoken publicly becomes a promise you can be forced to keep. Honesty proclaimed becomes a standard you can be cornered into upholding even when it harms you. Machiavelli warned that men who wish to appear good at all times come to ruin. Among so many who are not good. The mistake wasn't goodness itself, it was predictable signaling. Predators don't attack strength. They surround it. They don't confront discipline. They test it indirectly. They don't punish silence. They exploit explanation. Every signal you emit either raises or lowers the cost of crossing you. The man who cannot regulate himself publicly is assumed incapable of regulating outcomes privately. This is why power favors stillness. Stillness denies data. It slows interpretation. It forces others to guess. Guessing creates caution. Caution preserves position. You are not in danger because people are cruel. You are in danger because people are efficient. They will take what is offered at the lowest cost, and most men offer themselves freely. Believing openness is harmless. Once you see signaling clearly, you realize public life is not about being liked or respected. It is about managing the information you leak. Control the signal, and you control the interaction. Fail to, and someone else will. Every downfall has a beginning, and it almost always starts with a behavior the man believed was harmless. In public, small habits become large signals, and large signals become invitations. Predators don't need you to collapse. They need you to display something that indicates you will. These 8 behaviors are not mistakes, they are vulnerabilities disguised as personality traits. Each one broadcasts a specific weakness, attracting a specific type of opportunist. When you express them publicly, you are not being yourself. You are selecting who will dominate you. Each behavior is an archetype, a mask the naive wear without knowing it. And each mask tells the world exactly how to handle you. 1. The apologizes man apologizes before conflict exists. He apologizes for taking space, for having a voice, for existing. Predators see him as already conquered, No effort required. 2. The nervous explicable, he overclarifies everything. He cannot let silence stand. This signals guilt, fear, and a desperate need for approval, making him a perfect tool for manipulation. 3. The social performer, he laughs too loudly, talks too much, tries too hard to be liked. Predators see a man seeking the crowd's validation more than his own safety point. 4. The emotional leaker, he wears his frustration, excitement, jealousy, or insecurity on his face. To a predator, this is a dashboard of weaknesses, every color-coded button ready to be pressed. 5. The overly agreeable, he says yes reflexively, nods automatically, and mirrors others excessively. This marks him as obedient by instinct, not by strategy. 6. The hypertransparent shares too much personal information, opinions, or vulnerability with strangers. Predators treat him like open files, easy to read, easy to weaponize. 7. The defensive justifier, when challenged, he becomes emotional, argumentative, or flustered. This signals fragile ego structure, one that cracks under pressure instead of holding shape. 8. The visible, egonaut arrogance exposure. He reacts when ignored, threatened, or outshined. Predators see a man who can be baited, provoked, humiliated, or redirected at will. Each behavior attracts a specific predator archetype. The dominator hunts the apologizer. The manipulator hunts the nervous explicable. The exploiter hunts the agreeable. The social strategist hunts the performer. The narcissist hunts the emotional leaker. The opportunist hunts the hypertransparent. The provocateur hunts the defensive justifier. The puppet master hunts the visible ego. None of these encounters are accidents. They are matches created by signaling. A man who displays these behaviors in private is merely inexperienced. A man who displays them in public is volunteering for hierarchy placement at the bottom. What ruins men is not that they have flaws. What ruins them is that they broadcast them. This chapter reveals the masks. The next reveals the consequences, how history, psychology, and human nature punish the unguarded. Every empire that collapsed did so publicly before it fell structurally. The same pattern governs individuals. Decline announces itself through behavior long before consequences arrive. History does not punish men for immorality. It punishes them for misreading the arena. Machiavelli's observations came from watching courts, not classrooms. He saw that rulers were not removed for cruelty, but for weakness displayed at the wrong moment. Mercy shown without dominance. Trust extended without leverage. Emotion revealed without control. The crowd did not overthrow them out of outrage. It sensed opportunity. Public failure is rarely sudden. It is cumulative exposure. Consider the Roman Senate in its late years. Power shifted not because enemies were stronger, but because senators competed in displays of virtue instead of force. Public speeches replaced decisive action. Moral signaling replaced authority. Rivals learned exactly who could be pressured, shamed, or bypassed. The arena changed, but behavior didn't. Selection did the rest. Or look at fallen generals. The pattern repeats. Excessive openness with subordinates, emotional favoritism, public indecision. The moment a leader is seen hesitating, the hierarchy destabilizes. Loyalty becomes conditional. Silence becomes plotting. The general believes he is being humane. The arena reads him as available. History is filled with men who confused admiration for safety. Crowds cheered them publicly, then abandoned them privately. Because public approval is not protection, it is surveillance. The louder the applause, the more eyes are measuring your next mistake. Human nature has not evolved past this. Modern institutions simply disguise it with softer language. Corporate environments punish the same signals courts once did. The employee who vents publicly becomes difficult. The leader who over-explains loses authority. The man who displays vulnerability without status becomes expendable. Predators adapt. They always have. They do not need you immoral. They need you predictable. Once your behavior forms a pattern, you are no longer a threat, you are a resource. History shows this relentlessly. Men were not destroyed by enemies alone. They were destroyed by subordinates who realized the cost of betrayal was low. Machiavelli warned that men judge more by the eye than by the hand. Appearance governs allegiance. When the appearance of strength fades, loyalty evaporates. Not because people are evil, but because alignment follows advantage. Even revolutions follow this logic. Populations revolt not when rulers are cruel, but when rulers appear weak. Public displays of uncertainty, compromise, or moral confusion signal that authority is decaying. The crowd senses blood. The arena responds. This is the deeper threat. Public behavior does not just affect perception, it shapes reality. Once others believe you can be challenged, they will test it. Once tested, your response is recorded. Fail publicly once, and the arena never forgets. History's autopsies are consistent. Men fell when they allowed the public to see what should have remained concealed. Doubt, emotion, dependence. The lesson is not to become inhuman. It is to become selective. Survival has always favored those who understood when to reveal and when to withhold. The next chapter shifts from diagnosis to prescription, from exposure to control. Once you understand that public life is an arena of selection, behavior stops being expressive and becomes tactical. Survival no longer depends on who you are inside, but on what you allow to be seen outside. Power begins with invisibility. This does not mean absence. It means reducing unnecessary signal. The less data you broadcast, the fewer angles others can attack. Stillness is not passivity, it is compression. A coiled state that denies observers clarity. Most men fail here because they believe presence requires performance. They talk to fill silence. They react to fill tension. They explain to fill uncertainty. Every attempt to fill space leaks information. Strategic invisibility reverses this impulse. You let silence stand. You let others reveal first. You allow discomfort to exist without soothing it. This alone elevates your position because it shifts the burden of adjustment onto others. Controlled projection replaces authenticity with precision. You do not show emotions, you deploy them. You do not express opinions, you time them. You do not reveal loyalty, you imply it. This creates ambiguity, and ambiguity forces caution. Predators rely on predictability. When they cannot read you quickly, they slow down. When they slow down, they make mistakes. Control is not dominance, it is friction introduced into others' calculations. Consider posture. A relaxed but immobile stance signals self-possession. Fidgeting signals internal negotiation. Consider speech. Short, complete sentences signal certainty. Excess words signal doubt or appeasement. Consider response time. Immediate reactions signal emotional exposure. Delayed responses signal authority. None of this requires aggression. Aggression is loud. Control is quiet. Strategic invisibility also means selective engagement. You do not attend every battle. You do not correct every insult. You do not answer every question. Availability lowers perceived value. Scarcity raises it. Machiavelli advised rulers to appear merciful, faithful, humane, sincere, religious, but to be able to act against those qualities when necessary. The key word is appear. Projection without dependency. You are not deceiving others. You are refusing to let them access you without cost. This shift is uncomfortable for men trained to equate virtue with exposure. But public life does not reward moral comfort. It rewards disciplined ambiguity. When you control projection, you decide the role others assign you. You are no longer placed automatically. You shape placement. This is where many hesitate. They fear being misunderstood. That fear is residue of weakness. Being misunderstood is safer than being read completely. The arena punishes men who need clarity. It respects men who can function without it. Once invisibility and projection are mastered, something irreversible happens. The old public self becomes obsolete. The next chapter deals with that necessary destruction. The final obstacle is not technique. It is attachment. Most men do not fail because they lack control. They fail because they cannot let the old version of themselves die. The version that wanted to be seen as good, understood, approved, safe within the herd. That identity cannot survive in the arena. The social self is a construct built for acceptance, not sovereignty. It performs emotions to secure belonging. It explains itself to avoid conflict. It displays virtue to signal worth. In private, this self may be harmless. In public, it is lethal. Machiavelli understood that power requires internal division, the ability to separate who you are from how you appear. Men who collapse these two become predictable. Predictability is a death sentence. Identity death begins when you stop reacting to how you are perceived. Approval and disapproval lose their authority over your behavior. You no longer adjust yourself to maintain social warmth. You maintain position instead. This feels like loss at first. Silence replaces expression. Distance replaces familiarity. People notice. Some become uneasy. Others become curious. A few become hostile. That reaction is confirmation, not danger. Arena resists men who remove themselves from easy classification. You will be accused of being cold, calculated, arrogant, unreadable. Those labels are defenses from people who can no longer place you. When you were expressive, they controlled the narrative. When you became opaque, they lost leverage. This chapter is not about becoming isolated. It is about becoming internally sovereign. You decide when to connect, not reflexively respond. You decide when to reveal, not emotionally discharge. The death is precise. You kill the need to be liked publicly. You kill the impulse to explain. You kill the habit of emotional leakage. In their place, you install restraint, patience, and selective presence. What replaces the social self is not emptiness. It is structure. You move through public spaces without broadcasting intention. You engage without attachment. You observe without reacting. You are no longer auditioning for acceptance, you are assessing terrain. This is why the transition is rare. Most men would rather be approved and vulnerable than sovereign and misunderstood. They choose warmth over control, then wonder why they are managed. Once the social self dies, there is no return. You cannot unsee the mechanics. Public life becomes quieter, slower, more legible. You stop fearing judgment because you understand its limits. The final chapter delivers the warning most men ignore, until it is too late. There is no moment when the arena pauses. No truce, no off-season. Selection operates continuously, whether you acknowledge it or not. The only choice you are given is whether you participate consciously or are processed unconsciously. Most men assume neutrality is possible, that if they do nothing wrong, nothing will happen. This belief is the last comfort before erasure. In competitive environments, inaction is interpreted as consent. Silence without control becomes submission. You are always being placed. Every room you enter updates your position. Every public interaction recalibrates how much pressure can be applied to you. This is not paranoia, it is pattern recognition. Humans are efficient organizers of hierarchy. They cannot stop themselves. The warning is simple. Behaviors you display today become constraints imposed on you tomorrow. Once the arena learns how you respond, it adjusts accordingly. If you tolerate disrespect once, it becomes expectation. If you reveal weakness publicly, it becomes precedent. There is no forgiveness in selection. Only memory. This is why most men experience a slow narrowing of options. Their world shrinks. Their authority erodes. They blame luck, politics, or other people's cruelty. In truth, they train the environment to treat them that way. Machiavelli's darkest insight was not about cruelty. It was about timing. Men are ruined not by being weak, but by being weak when it is visible. Private softness can be survived. Public softness is archived. From this point forward, there is no excuse of ignorance. You know the mechanics. You know the cost of exposure. You know that public virtue without leverage is decoration on a target. The arena does not care about your intentions. It responds only to your signals. Control them, and you move freely. Ignore them, and you are managed. There is no call to action here because power is not motivational. It is selective. Those who understood will adjust. Those who didn't will dismiss this as cynical and continue broadcasting themselves into irrelevance. Selection never sleeps, and now neither should your awareness.